Long ago, people built the city of Athens in Attica. Attica was a land in Greece. It had hills, small fields, a long coast, and many small towns. Athens was the most important city in Attica. It grew on and near a high rock called the Acropolis. From the Acropolis, people could see the land, the sea, and the roads around the city. Athens was a polis. A polis was a Greek city-state. A city-state was not only one city. It was a city and the land around it. It had its own people, laws, army, gods, and way of life. Other Greek places were also polis. Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes were famous polis. Each polis wanted to be strong and free. In early Athens, a small group of rich men had most of the power. These men were aristocrats. An aristocrat was a man from an old and rich family. Aristocrats had much land. They had horses. They could buy weapons. They often fought on horseback. In war, horse soldiers were very important at first. The aristocrats also had power in politics. Politics means the work of making rules and leading a city. In early Athens, aristocrats made many important choices. They had meetings, made laws, and led the army. Most other people had little or no voice in politics. The other free people were called common people. Many common people were farmers, workers, shop owners, sailors, and traders. At first, they were not as rich as the aristocrats. They did not have much land. They did not have horses. They did not have a strong voice in the polis. But Athens began to change. Trade became more active. Ships went across the sea. They carried oil, wine, pots, metal, cloth, and other things. Athens bought things from other places and sold things to other places. Some common people became rich through trade, work, and small businesses. As trade grew, some common people could buy better weapons. A horse was very expensive, but a shield, a spear, and armor were less expensive. A farmer or worker could save money and buy these things. Then he could fight for Athens as a hoplite. A hoplite was a heavy soldier. A hoplite wore armor and carried a large round shield. He also carried a spear and a short sword. The shield was very important. It protected the man who carried it, but it also helped protect the man next to him. Hoplites did not usually fight alone. They stood close together in a phalanx. A phalanx was a group of heavy soldiers in many close lines. Every man held his shield near the shield of the man beside him. Their spears pointed forward. They moved and fought as one strong wall. The phalanx needed many men. It did not work well if only a few men fought in it. The common people became important because they could fight as hoplites. They helped protect Athens. They stood together in battle. They risked their lives for the polis. Because they helped defend the city, the common people began to ask for more rights. They said, "We fight for Athens. We should also have a voice in Athens." They wanted a part in politics. They wanted fair laws. They wanted to be treated better by rich men. At that time, many laws were not written down. They were old customs. A custom is a rule that people follow because people have followed it for a long time. The problem was that rich men often knew the old customs better than other people. They could use the customs in ways that helped themselves. In the late 7th century BC, a man named Draco wrote down the laws of Athens. Draco was an Athenian lawmaker. His laws were among the first written laws of Athens. Written laws were important because people could see the rules. A rich man could not easily say, "This is the law," when the law was not known by others. But Draco's laws were very hard. Many people thought that the punishments were too strong. Even for small wrong acts, people could face very serious punishment. Today, the word draconian comes from Draco. It means very hard and very strict. Written laws were a step forward. But Athens still had serious problems. Many poor farmers had debt. Debt is money that a person must pay back. A farmer could borrow grain, money, or tools. If his field did not give enough food, he could not pay back what he borrowed. When a poor farmer could not pay his debt, he could lose his land. In some cases, he and his family could become slaves because of debt. This was a terrible fear. A free person could fall into slavery. Many poor people were angry, afraid, and without hope. The rich landowners also had problems. They feared that poor people might fight against them. Athens could become weak if its people fought each other. The city needed a man who could help both sides. It needed peace between the rich and the poor. In 594 BC, Solon became an important leader in Athens. Solon was known as a wise man. He tried to help Athens at a difficult time. He did not fully support only the aristocrats. He did not fully support only the common people. He tried to be a helper between the two groups. Solon made major changes. One important change was the end of many debts. He canceled many debts that poor people could not pay. This act gave help to many farmers. It also helped stop the loss of land and freedom because of debt. Solon also stopped the practice of making Athenians slaves because of debt. A free Athenian could no longer become a slave simply because he could not pay money. This was very important. It protected many poor people and their families. Solon did not take all land from the rich. He did not make every person equal in wealth. Rich people still had much power. But Solon tried to make life less hard for poor people. He wanted Athens to be more stable and less full of anger. Solon also made a system called property politics. In this system, citizens were put into 4 groups by their property. Property means land, money, animals, crops, houses, and other things that a person owns. A man with more property could have more political duties and more political power. The 4 groups were not based only on family birth. This was a big change. Before this, old rich families had very strong power because of birth. Under Solon, a man with enough property could gain a better place in the city, even if he was not from an old aristocrat family. Some common people gained political rights because of Solon's reforms. They could take part in meetings and courts. They could have a voice in some parts of the government. Still, the richest men had the highest offices. Athens was not yet a full democracy. Solon's reforms helped, but they did not end all problems. Some people wanted more change. Some rich people did not like losing power. Some poor people still had little land and little money. Athens continued to have conflict between groups. A word that is sometimes used when people speak about poor people who lost their land is proletari. Proletari is really a Roman word, not an old Athenian word. In Rome, it meant very poor citizens who had almost no property. They were important mainly because they could have children for the state. In Athens, poor people could lose land because of debt. They could become very weak and poor. This was a danger for the polis. If many farmers lost their land, Athens could lose many hoplites. The city needed citizens who could buy weapons and fight in the phalanx. So poverty was not only a problem for one family. It was also a problem for national defense. National defense means protecting the country or polis from enemies. If fewer people could fight as hoplites, Athens could become less safe. In the early 6th century BC, another leader came to Athens. His name was Pisistratus. Pisistratus had support from many common people. He knew that poor people wanted help. He also knew that many people were tired of conflict between rich families. Pisistratus took power by force. He did not gain power through a normal and legal way. He became a tyrant. In Greek history, a tyrant was a man who took power outside the usual laws. At that time, the word did not always mean a man who was cruel in every way. Pisistratus ruled Athens as a tyrant. He was supported by many common people. He kept some of Solon's laws. He also helped Athens grow. He supported farming, trade, building, and religion. Under his rule, Athens became richer and more active. Pisistratus helped small farmers in some ways. He gave loans to some farmers. He made it easier for people in the countryside to bring goods to Athens. He also helped make the city more beautiful. He built temples and supported religious events. Still, Pisistratus had taken power by force. This was dangerous for a polis. If one man could take power in this way, another man could do the same. A tyrant might help people, but a tyrant might also become cruel. The people of Athens later wanted to stop tyrants from coming again. After Pisistratus died, his sons ruled Athens. At first, the rule continued, but later the rule became less popular. One son was killed. The other son became more afraid and more severe. Many Athenians wanted to end the rule of the tyrant family. In 508 BC, Cleisthenes became an important leader in Athens. Cleisthenes made reforms that changed the city in a very important way. He wanted to stop the power of old rich families. He also wanted to stop the return of tyranny. Before Cleisthenes, people were often grouped by old family ties. A family tie means that people are connected by blood and family history. Athens had 4 old tribes based on these old family ties. The old tribes helped aristocrat families keep their power. Cleisthenes changed this system. He made 10 new tribes. These tribes were not based mainly on old family ties. They were based on local places. These local places were called demes. A deme was a small local community, like a town or village area. People belonged to a deme because they lived there. This was important. A man's place in the city was not only about his old family. It was also about the place where he lived. The deme became an important part of Athenian political life. The 10 tribes mixed people from different parts of Attica. Each tribe had people from the city, the coast, and the inland land. This made it harder for one rich family or one small area to control everything. It also helped people think of themselves as Athenians together. Cleisthenes also made a new council. The council had 500 members. It was often called the Council of 500. Each of the 10 tribes sent 50 men. The council prepared work for the larger meetings of citizens. The Council of 500 did not make every final choice by itself. It talked about money, ships, food, laws, and other needs of Athens. It helped make sure that many parts of Attica had a voice. Cleisthenes also made the system of ostracism. Ostracism was a vote used to protect Athens from a possible tyrant. Citizens wrote a name on a small piece of broken pottery. This broken piece of pottery was called an ostracon. If many citizens wrote the same name, that man could be sent away from Athens for 10 years. He did not lose all his property. He was not killed. But he had to leave the city for a time. The goal was to stop one powerful man from becoming too strong. Ostracism was not used for every crime. It was not a normal court punishment. It was a political tool. It was used when people feared that a man might become a tyrant or might harm the democracy. Cleisthenes helped build the base of Athenian democracy. Democracy means rule by the people. The word comes from 2 Greek words. Demos means the people, and kratos means power or rule. In Athens, democracy meant that citizens could take part in political life. But it is important to know who counted as a citizen. Not every person in Athens was a citizen. Women were not citizens in the political sense. Slaves were not citizens. Foreign people who lived in Athens were not citizens either. They were often called metics. A metic was a free foreign person living in Athens. Many metics were workers, traders, artists, and shop owners. They helped Athens become rich and active. But they could not vote in the assembly. They could not have the full political rights of citizens. In the middle of the 5th century BC, Athens became very strong. This was a great time for the city. Athens had ships, money, trade, art, and many people. It also became an important power in the Greek world. A famous leader of this time was Pericles. Pericles was an Athenian statesman. A statesman is a political leader who works for the state. Pericles was a strong speaker. He led Athens for many years and helped the democracy grow. Under Pericles, Athenian democracy became more complete. Many citizens could take part in public life. Poor citizens could also take part more easily because some public jobs and jury work gave payment. This meant that a poor man did not always have to lose all his income when he served the city. Athens used direct democracy. Direct democracy means that citizens themselves made important choices. They did not only choose a few people to make every choice for them. They met together and voted on many important questions. The most important meeting was the assembly. In Greek, it was called the ecclesia. The assembly was made up of adult male citizens. These men could come together, listen to speeches, talk about problems, and vote. The assembly was the highest decision-making body in Athens. It could decide about war and peace. It could decide about laws. It could decide about money, ships, alliances, and other important matters. An alliance is an agreement between cities or countries to help each other. The assembly met many times in a year. Citizens went to a hill called the Pnyx. There they listened to speakers. A man could stand up and speak to the people. This gave citizens a direct role in the life of the polis. Direct democracy was very different from rule by a king. In a kingdom, one king often made the final choice. In Athens, many citizens could vote. This was a new and important idea in history. Still, Athenian democracy had limits. Only adult male citizens could take part. Women, slaves, children, and medics could not vote. So democracy in Athens was for a limited group, not for every person living in Attica. Even so, the assembly was very important. A poor citizen and a rich citizen could both go to the assembly. They could both listen. They could both vote. A rich man might be a better speaker, but the vote of a poor citizen also counted. An office was an official job in the government. Many offices were not given only to rich men. Most offices, except for the office of general, were chosen by lot. A lot was a kind of chance choice. People put names into a system, and names were chosen by chance. This is like drawing names from a box. Athenians used lots because they did not want only rich, famous, or powerful men to get public jobs. They believed that many citizens should have a chance to serve. A man chosen by lot could work for the city for a short time. Then another man could have a chance. This helped stop one small group from holding power for too long. The office of general was different. A general led soldiers and made important military choices. Athens usually chose generals by vote, not by lot. People wanted skilled and trusted men to lead in war. Pericles was chosen as a general many times. The Greek word for general was strategos. Athens had 10 strategoi or generals. They worked with the army and the navy. The navy was especially important, because Athens had many ships and used the sea for trade and war. Athens also had a people's court. The people's court was a place where citizens judged legal cases. In Greek, it was called the Heliaia. It was different from a court with only one judge. In the people's court, citizens over 30 years old could be chosen by lot to become jurors. A juror is a citizen who listens to a case and helps decide if a person is right or wrong. Many jurors could sit together in one case. The number of jurors could be very large. Sometimes there were hundreds of jurors. This made it hard for one rich man to control the court. A person could not easily pay or threaten hundreds of people. The jurors listened to both sides. One person spoke, then the other person spoke. They gave reasons and showed what they knew. After this, the jurors voted. Their vote decided the result of the case. Athens also had trials for bad actions by public officials and political leaders. If an official used his power in a wrong way, citizens could accuse him. This was like an impeachment trial. Impeachment means a public charge against an official who may have done something wrong. This system was important because leaders were not supposed to be above the law. A leader could be asked to explain his actions. Citizens could say, "You used public money in a bad way," or "You harmed the city," or "You did not do your duty." In this way, Athenian democracy tried to watch its leaders. The people gave power to officials, but they also checked their work. This idea was important. A person with public power should use that power for the polis, not only for himself. In 451 BC, Athens made a law about citizenship. The law said that a boy needed both an Athenian father and an Athenian mother to receive full Athenian citizenship. This law was connected with Pericles. Before this law, citizenship could sometimes be given more easily. After the law, citizenship became harder to receive. Athens wanted to make clear who belonged to the citizen body. The citizen body was the group of people with political rights. This law shows that Athenian democracy was open in some ways, but closed in other ways. More male citizens could take part in politics than before. But many people living in Athens still had no political rights. Athens was also a city with many slaves. Slavery was an important part of its economy. An economy is the system of work, money, buying, selling, and making things. Slaves did many kinds of work in Athens. Some slaves worked in agriculture. Agriculture means farming. They worked in fields, grew food, cared for animals, and helped on farms. Some farmers had small farms, but rich landowners could have many workers, including slaves. Other slaves worked in industry. Industry means making things in workshops. They made pots, cloth, tools, metal goods, and many other things. Athens was known for beautiful painted pots. Slaves and free workers could both work in such places. Some slaves worked in homes. They cooked, cleaned, carried water, cared for children, and did other daily work. Some were treated better than others, but they were still not free. They could not make all choices about their own lives. Athens also had public slaves. Public slaves worked for the state. They did work for the city government. Some helped keep records. Some helped with money. Some helped in public places. They were slaves, but their work was connected to the city. The total number of slaves in Athens was very large. Some people say that slaves made up about 1/3 of the total population. This means that in a group of 3 people in Athens, 1 person may have been a slave. The exact number is hard to know, but slavery was clearly very common. The hardest work was often in the mines. Near Athens was Laurion. Laurion was famous for its silver mines. Silver was very valuable. Athens used silver to make coins. Coins helped trade and helped the city pay for ships, workers, and public life. Mine slaves in Laurion had very hard lives. They worked under the ground. The air could be bad. The work was dark, hot, and dangerous. They had to break rock and find silver. Many mine slaves suffered greatly. The silver from Laurion helped Athens become strong. It helped Athens build ships. It helped Athens pay sailors. It helped Athens have money for war and trade. But this wealth came in part from the painful work of slaves. This is an important part of the story of Athens. Athens is known for democracy, public debate, art, and philosophy. But its democracy was limited. It depended on the work of people who could not vote, including women, medics, and slaves. Athens had great thinkers, great buildings, and great stories. It built the Parthenon on the Acropolis. It had plays, music, art, and public festivals. It had teachers and thinkers who asked deep questions about life, truth, and justice. But Athens also had war, poverty, slavery, and conflict. Rich people and poor people did not live in the same way. Citizens had rights that other people did not have. The city was strong, but it was not fair to everyone. The story of Athens teaches us that political change can come from many causes. Trade changed Athens. New weapons changed Athens. The hoplite phalanx changed Athens. When common people became important in war, they began to ask for political rights. The story also teaches us that laws matter. Before Draco, many laws were old customs known best by powerful people. When laws were written down, more people could know the rules. Written law did not make everything fair at once, but it was an important step. Solon's reforms also show that debt can be a serious social problem. When poor people lost land and freedom because of debt, the whole polis became less stable. Solon tried to stop this danger by canceling debts and ending debt slavery for Athenians. Pisistratus shows another lesson. A tyrant may gain support from poor people. A tyrant may even do some useful things. But rule by one man can be dangerous, because the laws may become weak. The people may lose the power to control their leader. Cleisthenes shows the value of changing old systems. He changed the old 4 tribes into 10 tribes. He used demes, local communities, instead of only old family ties. This made the city less controlled by a few rich families. Ostracism shows that Athenians feared tyranny. They wanted to stop a powerful man before he became too dangerous. Sending a man away for 10 years was a strong act, but it was meant to protect the polis without killing him. Pericles shows the high point of Athenian democracy. Under his leadership, citizens took part in the assembly, courts, and public offices. Athens became rich, strong, and famous. Many people today still study this time. The assembly shows the meaning of direct democracy. Citizens did not only wait for leaders to decide everything. They came together. They listened to speeches. They voted about war, peace, laws, and money. The use of lots shows another important idea. Athenians believed that public office should not always belong to rich or famous men. By using lots, they gave many citizens a chance to serve the city. The People's Court shows that citizens could take part in justice. Jurors were not professional judges. They were ordinary citizens chosen by lot. They listened to cases and made decisions together. The impeachment trials show that political leaders could be called to account. A leader was powerful, but he could still be accused of wrong action. This was one way Athens tried to protect itself from bad leaders. The citizenship law of 451 BC shows that Athens had clear limits. Full citizenship was valuable. Only boys born to an Athenian father and an Athenian mother could receive it. Many people who lived and worked in Athens were outside the citizen group. The story of slaves shows another limit. Slaves worked in farms, homes, workshops, public jobs, and mines. Their work helped Athens grow, but they had no freedom and no political voice. The silver mines of Laurion were especially cruel. So when we study Athens, we should remember both sides. Athens made important new ideas about democracy, citizenship, law, and public debate. At the same time, many people were left out of this democracy. Athens began as a polis ruled mainly by aristocrats, with land and horses. Then trade grew. Common people became richer. They bought weapons. They fought as hoplites in the phalanx. They became important for national defense. Because of this, they asked for more political rights. Draco wrote down the laws. Solon ended debt slavery for Athenians and made property politics. Pisistratus ruled as a tyrant, with support from many common people. Then Cleisthenes made new tribes based on demes and created ostracism. His reforms built the base of democracy. Later, under Pericles, democracy became stronger and Athens entered its golden age. In this golden age, adult male citizens met in the assembly. They used direct democracy. Most public officials were chosen by lot. Jurors in the people's court were also chosen by lot from citizens over 30 years old. Athens was a place where citizens could speak, vote, judge, and serve. But it was also a place where women, medics, and slaves had no full political rights. It was a city of freedom for some people, but not for all people. This is why Athens is still important today. Its story helps us ask questions. Who has the right to vote? Who can make laws? How can people stop a bad leader? How can laws be fair? How can a city protect both freedom and safety? The people of Athens did not find perfect answers. No city is perfect, but they tried new ways to rule a polis. They wrote laws. They changed old family systems. They used votes, lots, courts, and public meetings. Their ideas traveled far beyond Attica. Later, people in many places studied Athens. They learned about democracy, citizenship, law, and public duty. Today, when people talk about democracy, they often remember ancient Athens. Athens was not only a city of stone buildings and famous stories. It was a city of farmers, sailors, traders, soldiers, workers, citizens, medics, women, children, and slaves. All of these people were part of life in Attica. The rich aristocrats had land and horses. The common people worked, traded, and fought as hoplites. The leaders Draco, Solon, Pisistratus, Cleisthenes, and Pericles each changed Athens in different ways. The history of Athens is the history of change. It is the story of a polis that moved from aristocrat rule toward democracy. It is also the story of limits, conflict, and hard work. It reminds us that political rights are important, and that people often must work together to gain and protect them.